Amnesia is a convenient excuse. I'm watching you, Doctor. Same as ever. Ascalon. It's my only name. Call it a code name if you like. But if you want to update my file, you'll have to speak to Dr. Kaltzit first.
疲れているのかだと？いいや、ここは穏やかで気も紛れる。
Ascalon, leader of Sweep, Rhodes Island branch that mainly works as counter-infiltration and recon. Due to this organization's nature, most information about its members is unknown and classified. This is especially the case with Ascalon. Although after some digging, we know that she was once a member of Babel, Rhodes Island predecessor, growing up near Castle important figures, and was even trained by the regent himself. She has a rather unique arts that in a way allow her to erase herself from others' perception. Combined with her excellent close-quarter combat skill, she is a master of covert missions. Alright, one of the most anticipated NPC has finally become playable. Ascalon is our second 6-star ambusher specialist after Mizuki. Ambusher can attack all enemies in their range, have a permanent 50% dodge against physical and arts, and normally has lower aggro than most units. This combined with them having 0 block count, makes them perfect to be deployed near a concentrated enemy's position, without being disturbed, and dwindling down enemies' number, or HP before the enemies arrived at where most of your DPS units are located. Most units in this archetype, Ascalon included, also comes with abilities to stall enemies. So yes, they are pretty much Spike Rock, or maybe Ghost Pepper from Plants vs Zombie. Moving on, this is Ascalon's general stats. Ascalon has a pretty high attack and can also hit all ground enemies in her range. But to offset this, she has a slow attack interval. She also doesn't have a very high HP and defense, although she does have a pretty high resistance. Well, Ascalon and other ambushers normally won't have a problem with melee enemies, since they have 0 block. But ranged enemies are still a concern. The 50% dodge from her tray is going to be her main defense mechanism against ranged attacks. But since this is RNG, it's not always dependable. So if you want to make sure she survived 100%, might want to partner her with a healer, or maybe bait the ranged attacks to someone else. Okay, let's see her talents. Every time Ascalon attacks, she will also inflict movement speed reduction and arts DOT to the targets. And this effect can stack up to 3 times, and last for a pretty long time. This is a very great talent for a stalling unit like her, because by simply attacking, and outside of skill activation, she can slow down enemies significantly. And it's also one of the best arts DOT sources in the game. Furthermore, the DOT works as a way to compensate for Ascalon's slow attack interval, making sure the enemies will always take damage, even when she's not ready to attack. And the second talent will just permanently increases her attack speed. And further increased it, if Ascalon is near a high ground tile. Then this is her pot upgrade list. That works to reduce her cost, HP and improving talent to attack speed. But pretty much like almost other operators, she's okay without extra pot. Alright then, let's see her module. Ascalon got the X module, meaning every enemy in her range will get their movement speed reduced, as well as increase her HP and attack. And the upgrade will strengthen her first talent, but not really by a big margin, and doesn't add anything new, as this only increases the arts damage a bit, and the duration up to 30 seconds. From my experience, Ascalon's module isn't a high priority, so I think unlocking the base effect is enough if you're going to use her often. Now let's talk skills. Her skill 1 is already a good first skill and AFK skill. When it's ready, she will hit the enemies twice, while also dealing critical damage. And that hit twice also means she will full stack her talent 1 to the enemies faster. Combined with a cheap cost and can hold 3 charges even at level 7, makes it a good DPS skill, albeit being too generic. As for her skill 2, she will get an attack bonus. Now significantly reduce enemy movement who enters her range. And can spread talent 1 when an enemy is defeated, almost the same like what Reveiw to Res 3 does. And while she only attacks ground enemies, but this skill movement reduction somehow also works on flying enemies, which is nice. All in all, this is considered her best skill. It has good damage, a potent way to stall enemies, especially fast moving one, and dangerous elites or bosses, making it a great alternative to someone like Mostoma, or maybe even better for most situations, because this skill has a cheap cost, so you can use it often. Lastly, we have her skill 3. It offers decent damage to defeat some types of swarms, and useful to cover more tiles. However, this skill's biggest purpose is for baiting, because this skill will increase Ascalon's aggro. And to ensure her survival, the skill will give her the ability to reduce ground enemies' accuracy that are within her range. And with her dodge chance from her tray in mind, it gives her a big chance to dodge an attack, while also giving heal whenever she successfully dodge. However, since the accuracy debuff only works on enemies that are in her range, long range enemies outside could still give her problem. For the skill that you should master, I suggest her skill 2. It is perfect for most situations, and the mastery gain is also significant. Like how it improves the movement reduction, attack bonus, and reducing the cost. Skill 3 is your next option, but pretty much only master it if you find that baiting ability useful. The mastery gain is also nice, but you will get the maximum accuracy debuff at M2. So you can stop there if you're tight on budget. Meanwhile for skill 1, it's not a bad skill to use, especially for AFK gameplay lovers. But there's not much to gain in its mastery, and overall just too generic. As for her base skills, when in the control center, she will increase operator mastery training speed by 5%, and also increasing trading post efficiency by 7%. A good base skill to have in case you don't have Supreme Leader Amia. So ladies and gents, should you get and build Ascalon? Now I know that her debut banner is in a very bad spot. There's 2 super limited banner for her, and the best limited banner after. And to be honest, if you watch this during her debut, it's best you skip her for the upcoming new operators. But putting that aside, Ascalon is definitely worth considering to get and build. She is a great unit when you need to stall a certain enemy or swarm, while also dealing meaningful damage at the same time. And has the potential to become an ultimate bait unit. Her kit is friendly and useful enough for newbie, and is definitely still useful for veteran who have lots of operators. And more or less, I think she's an upgrade from all ambusher specialist. So if you already build Mizuki, you can consider to build her. That should be all. Adios.